Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to wherever you are. So, today we are going to talk about our feature state, Indiana. And thank you so much for joining us all today. And I am CJ Campos, and I'm part of the marketing team here in Worldwide Health Staff Solutions. And before starting the webinar, uh, you can put in the chat where you're watching us from. We always want to know where you are in the world, and also, with this webinar, we are joined with um, our three amazing presenters. So here's the slide for that. So we're joined by Louis Brownstone, our president here in Worldwide Health Staff Solutions. Also with Meredith Suffron. She's our VP of Marketing. And last but not the least, it's Andrew Stocker, our Director of Technology or Director of ID. So next slide would be about our president, Louis Brownstone. So Louis, over to you.
Thanks so much, CJ. Appreciate everybody joining us today. I'll start with a little bit about me and then some of my favorite facts about Indiana, and then I'll hand it over to Meredith. So professionally, work background before I was president here at Worldwide. I ran a toy business, and then prior to that, I worked in management consulting. I'd say I'm lucky that I've had a strong interest in the world and international cultures. So I've been fortunate to visit over 56 countries, including the Philippines 4 times. The last couple of years, I've made it over to different parts of Africa, a couple parts of that, and I've been spending a bit more time in different countries of Africa because I am involved in an organization called Books for Africa, and we donate about, as an organization, a couple million books to Africa every year, and I personally have donated about 300,000 books through my network. I see someone on the chat is from Ethiopia. Last year, we sent 20,000 books to nursing books, actually, to some nursing schools in Ethiopia. We've sent some nursing books to Malawi. We're about to ship some more nursing books to Kenya. So it's been a real fun and I think meaningful effort. Some other things. I'm originally from San Francisco, California, but I was fortunate to spend my university days in Bloomington, Indiana, a wonderful, beautiful city in the state with nice rolling hills and lakes. Really enjoyed my time there, but also have lived in Chicago. I lived in India for a little while, in Hyderabad. I did a volunteer shift in Tanga, Tanzania, and I studied abroad in Krakow, Poland. So I really do appreciate the world and different cultures, and being here at Worldwide and supporting our clinicians from around the world and supporting U.S. healthcare. I think it's just been a great fit. Next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit about Indiana. So my couple favorite things about the state, I mentioned it earlier, but Bloomington, Indiana, which is just south of Indianapolis, is an absolute gem. It's a smaller city, but the university's there. It's quaint and charming and interesting and kind people. I'm into biking and cycling, so it's absolutely fantastic with the rolling hills, Four Seasons. It's really a wonderful, wonderful place. So we'll see if at some point in my life I end up back in Bloomington, Indiana. But we've got a special part of my heart is in Bloomington. The second, Indiana University basketball. The university basketball system in the United States is very developed and a big part of our culture. And Indiana is known as traditionally having one of the best teams this year, last couple of years. Not quite so much, but it's a lot of fun to follow. I mentioned biking. And then finally, a neat thing about Indiana, just in general, it's a great group of kind and welcoming people, a little different from maybe some of the coasts, but there's a charm about the people of Indiana that's really special. So I really enjoyed my time in Indiana and really appreciate the state. Now I'll hand it over to Meredith.
All right. Thank you, Louis. All right. My name is Meredith Suffron. I'm the VP of Marketing here at Worldwide, and we're located in Charlotte, North Carolina. But my work background, I have about 20 years of experience in marketing across a variety of categories. I am a big fan of sports, of live music, and of theater. And so I'll definitely talk to you about what Indiana has to offer there. I also went to college at Indiana University, so I lived there for 4 years. But my entire life, I've had relatives in the Indianapolis area who are also still lifetime residents. From where I lived in Ohio, it was just about a 3-hour drive to get there. So it was very convenient and a great way and a great place for them to grow up and for me to live for that time. And personally, I've explored all 7 continents. So to tell you some of my favorite things about the state of Indiana, the first thing is I call Indiana utopia. I think it's a really perfect place. It has a moderate climate, there's big cities and then small towns, and it's incredibly affordable. As Louis mentioned, there's great outdoor landscapes. There's hills, there's lakes, there's fields and plains. So you get a good variety of the topography as a part of that. If you are a sports fan like me, there are some great sports teams. You're going to hear a lot about Indiana as a university, but from a professional perspective, the Indiana Pacers are the NBA team in Indianapolis. The Indianapolis Colts are the American football team. The Indiana Fever is the women's NBA team featuring Caitlin Clark, who is becoming an international phenomenon. And then also the Indianapolis Indians are a minor league baseball team in Indianapolis. They also have a hockey and and a soccer team in the area too, for people who do enjoy those sports. The area of Indianapolis is also central to the state, but the state in general is right in the middle of the Midwest. So it's easy to get to many of the states and cities by train, bus, van, or car. I know I also lived in Chicago. It was a short few-hour drive, but as I mentioned, because of where it is in the bordering areas of the Midwest, very easy access if you have any other family or friends that will be in the United States that you want to try to travel to, or other areas to explore throughout the country. So I will turn it over to Andrew.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrew Stalker. I am the resident who is from Indiana. I lived in Indiana for all the way through college. I grew up in a town just outside of Bloomington, Indiana, which is about an hour south of Indianapolis, in a small town just right outside of Bloomington, about 10 minutes away, called Ellettsville. After moving away from Indiana after college, I moved to Boston for 3 years, and I've always been in the technology space, primarily in the staffing, recruiting technology. Since moving away from Boston, I landed down in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm a father of 3. I enjoy hiking, pickleball, and banjo during my free time. Like I said, if we can progress to the next slide, I'll tell you a few of my favorite things about Indiana. Having grown up there, amazing place to grow up. It's a nice blend of larger cities and smaller towns. And there's really something for everyone. Like I said, I grew up in southern Indiana, right outside of Bloomington. Bloomington is a college town. And you really spend time growing up consuming all things Indiana. So you'll see a picture here of maybe one of the most famous people from Indiana, which is John Mellencamp. You'll likely be familiar with some of his songs, I believe. And then, of course, the 3 of us, we all 3 went to Indiana University, which is pretty interesting considering none of us live in Indiana anymore. But at Indiana University and across the state of Indiana, basketball is the preferred sport, especially college basketball. It's very, very big in the state. And if you decide to move to Indiana, you will likely be presented with choosing a favorite. So a favorite being either your Indiana Hoosiers, which I think all 3 of us are Indiana Hoosiers, or your Purdue Boilermakers. Now, of course, there's a handful of other colleges that you'll likely be presented with, but those are the 2 main ones. Now, like my favorite thing says, summers are spent on the lake. Indiana has a very, very popular culture of in the summers of enjoying summers on the lake. So while Indiana's landlocked, there are plenty of lakes, and it is an incredible, incredible time. Even if you don't have a boat, most of these lakes have beach access, and it's a great, great experience to get out and swim or hike around the different lakes. And of course, another incredibly big sporting event. And this is pretty, in my opinion, pretty unique, especially in the United States. NASCAR is typically the biggest sport in the United States as far as automobile racing. Now, in Indiana, there is a variation of that, which is IndyCar racing. Now, this is pretty popular worldwide, and this is all hosted. The Indy 500 is hosted out of Indianapolis, Indiana. It's a giant, giant race. I suppose it'd be similar to a Formula One event. A lot of fun. Next slide, please. So the state of Indiana. So as Louis mentioned, the state of Indiana, you do get all 4 seasons. So as you can see, summer, fall, winter, and spring. I remember growing up in Indiana, just each season being so incredibly unique. Getting a lot of snow, being out of school for a couple of days, and then of course in the summer, having just lovely, lovely summers where, of course, it's hot, but that's why you go to the lake. As you can see, some of our largest cities, the state capital, Indianapolis, very large, lovely architecture. As you can see there in the very center, it's a very, very pretty city, great skyline. Fort Wayne, also quite sizable, and then of course Evansville, which is in the south of Indiana, kind of closer to Kentucky. And then, of course, some of the things that we're known for in the northern part of Indiana, right outside of the Chicago area, it's which is right on Lake Michigan. There's a lot of there's a natural dune or national park for dunes. It's really, really incredible. And if you don't know anything about that part of the state, the northern part of the state, Lake Michigan is massive. You will think you're on a beach, maybe on an ocean. You are not. It is indeed a lake. So it's incredibly, incredibly big. And then, of course, we have we're known for a handful of famous people from Indiana. So Abraham Lincoln's boyhood home, excuse me, is in Indiana. He was born in Kentucky and then grew up in Indiana. And then, of course, maybe this is a good time. Louis, Meredith, who are your most famous people from Indiana? Louis, why don't you start?
I would guess the most famous person from Indiana, which the term is a Hoosier. It's an interesting phrase. Don't know where it's from, but someone from Indiana is titled a Hoosier. The most famous Hoosier in the world is Michael Jackson. Andrew, is that true or false?
Oh, I did ask ChatGPT the most famous Hoosiers. Yeah, Michael Jackson was indeed number one. Meredith, who's your favorite or most favorite Hoosier, and who do you think maybe is number 2? Well, maybe we'll get the top 3 list.
I can't say I can guess, but I would say there are a lot of sports figures from the state. One of my favorite football players is Peyton Manning, who played for the Colts. But also there are some great college, Notre Dame and Purdue and Indiana, as well as some other schools are from there. So there are a lot of coaches as well as players from those states as well, or those schools as well.
Yeah, and maybe some other notable figures. James Dean, iconic actor, Larry Bird, David Letterman, Kurt Vonnegut, just a handful of famous Hoosiers that you might be familiar with. But if you do inevitably move to Indiana, these are figures that you will no doubt hear about. With that, how about next slide? Perfect. And maybe before we get into this, Louis, you brought up a great point. What is a Hoosier? What's a Hoosier in your opinion? Do you know any? It's kind of rooted in folklore, and maybe there's a couple different variations. Are you familiar with what a Hoosier is?
I never got a good answer. I felt like it was inconsistent. I really don't know.
That's Meredith, what about you?
So there are a lot of farming areas in the state of Indiana, and so I've heard that as folks were crossing some of the different fields, someone would yell and someone would say, "Who's here?" because they heard them coming, and that became a Hoosier. But again, I think that's also a tale, and I don't know if there's a true definition.
My version. I hope everyone's children are asleep because it's maybe a little more graphic. But the version that I've heard is hundreds of years ago there was a bar fight where some gentleman unfortunately had his ear cut off, and someone picked it up and said, "Whose ear?" which turned into Hoosier. I know that's probably not the friendliest version, but I will assure everyone you will not lose your ear moving to Indiana. You will not be getting a bar fight. Everyone is very, very friendly and very, very welcoming. So life in Indiana, some quick stats that you can see here. It's an incredibly affordable place to live, and it's very centrally located. So you have a major airport in the center of the state, and you can mainly the center of the country, which you can really get to anywhere that you need to get very, very quickly. Like we also said, there's an incredibly strong job market. I'd say it's probably anchored by Indianapolis. So there's an incredibly strong job market in Indianapolis. Other cities and towns as well have very good job markets. And then of course, top ranked universities. You'll always hear within Indiana, there's in the South, there's Indiana University where the three of us went. In the North, there's West Lafayette, which is home to Purdue. And then, of course, there's a Notre Dame University, a little north of Purdue. Now, there's dozens of other smaller universities, Butler, Indiana University, or Indianapolis University, and like I said, dozens of others, but those are probably the most popular universities, or maybe better put, the larger universities. And of course, let's get to our current clients that we partner with in Indiana. Meredith, do you want to talk about community health or Franciscan? Meredith Lewis?
Sure. So we are currently scheduling for interviews for the Community Health Network. Those will be happening soon. The primary location that we will be hiring for will be in Indianapolis for that health system. And then Franciscan Health, we will be recruiting for soon. That's located in Lafayette, Indiana, which is, again, halfway between Chicago and Indianapolis, so about an hour outside of Indianapolis. So those are the two primary upcoming job opportunities within the state.
And of course, we just want to highlight the licensure requirements and the English language requirements for these hospital groups. So, of course, your Social Security number is required, U.S. licensure required, fingerprinting, credential evaluations, and then, of course, being state the state licensure board certification, and of course your English test is required, either TOEFL or IELTS. Excuse me. So this is just a high-level estimation of your monthly costs living in Indiana, assuming 2 adults, 2 children. Now, as you can see here, we've on the left-hand column, that's the greater Indianapolis area. So reminder, Indianapolis is the largest city in Indiana. And then we've also included West Lafayette. West Lafayette, that's the where Purdue University is, and Franciscan Health, which we just reviewed on the previous slide. We've compared that against San Francisco, so I think you can see the very, very drastic difference in housing, food, childcare. San Francisco probably being the most expensive city in the country. But as you can see, comparatively, living in Indianapolis, your paycheck goes a much, much farther way. So you can really grow your family and really save and really live incredibly comfortably in either Indianapolis or West Lafayette or just the Midwest in general, Indiana's an incredibly affordable state. And I think the figures we have here really back that up. Louis, Meredith, anything to add about living in Indiana and maybe it being incredibly affordable?
I would just add, wages are different depending on which region of the country you're in, as are your expenses. And so it's important for you not just to look at, once you go through a job interview with us and you get your wage, not just to solely look at that wage, but really look at the cost of that community. And I think that's where Indiana is a great value, as Andrew mentioned, where your cost of living will be low. Super important.
I think the only other two things I'd add from a living perspective, Indianapolis has been known to be one of the best places to raise a family, and it's been named nationally for that, and especially certain areas as well. And so from a safety, affordability, and education. So if that's important to you, if you're coming with a family, definitely research some of that. The other thing I'd say is just healthcare in general in the state of Indiana is really growing. There's a lot of healthcare technology in the state, and it's one of its primary focuses. So being within some of the hospital systems there would obviously provide access to a lot of great, like-minded people and probably resources throughout the state overall.
Ooh, job opportunities for maybe spouses and dependents. So obviously there's a host of healthcare support roles or clerical positions, but and of course manufacturing and retail. But I think where Indiana is growing is in technology. So I know a big provider in technology jobs in the state is Salesforce. I'm sure, which they're based out of San Francisco, but they have quite a large, big operation in Indianapolis. So its technology industry is growing. Meredith, Louis, anything to add? A lot of different opportunities for your spouses or dependents, depending on what their interests are, and so if anyone needs to be pointed in the right directions to any job boards, please reach out and we'll absolutely point you in the right directions. Okay, Q&A. Kelsey, what kind of questions have we had?
Well, it looks like a lot of people are really excited to hear about Indiana and the opportunities that we have there. I do see one question about if it's faster with your immigration petition to go to Indiana, or is it the same if you're already waiting on your petition? That petition process and the visa process is going to be the same regardless of the state or employer that you're working with. So you'll continue moving forward through the immigration process, and the process timeline won't change depending on your state. I do also see that you're asking if you can change your workplace if you already are on contract with an employer. We do not recommend that, but for any specific questions about your application, we recommend that you speak with your case manager directly. And then I also see a few questions from people that are wanting an update on their application, or maybe want to know what is happening with their application. You can contact our live recruiter chat at healthstaff.org/live-chat, or you can email us directly at recruiting@healthstaff.org, and we'll connect you directly with your recruiter or answer any questions that you have. I did see a question too about NCLEX sponsorship. We don't currently offer NCLEX sponsorship, but again, if you want to reach out to us, we'd be happy to assist you with some resources. And then I also see a question about an age limit for nurses. There is not an age limit for nurses. We encourage everyone to apply. And then it looks like there's a question about if any Australian nurses have moved to Indiana or the US recently. We do work with nurses from almost every country in the world, and so we'd love to speak with you directly about your application. Let's see, we're getting a few more in here. Carlson has a question. If you're a New York license holder, can I apply for jobs in Indiana? Absolutely, you can. We have a fantastic licensure team that will help you endorse your license to whatever state you're hired for. So regardless of what state you have your license in, please speak with your recruiter about any opportunities that you're interested in. And then Ellen has a question. Are there med-surg opportunities at the facility? Likely, yes. Med-surg is one of the most frequent units that we hire for. And so for the majority of hospitals we hire for, there are med-surg opportunities. So Ellen, we would love to speak with you directly about your application. If you have any other questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat now. Let me see if we have any others in here. Let's see. Okay, team, I think that's the rest of our questions. Again, if you have a question that you didn't want to put in the chat or you didn't have time to put it in there, please email us recruiting@healthstaff.org. One last question. Someone's asking if you can be eligible to apply if you're from Pakistan. Absolutely, we work with nurses all over the U.S. And one more question from Diana. Oh, we got a few coming in here. Okay. Diana says, if given the chance to work in the U.S., will you also help in the family processing of documents? Yes, you can add your spouse and your children, if they're under the age of 21, to your visa petition, and they will receive a visa as well through the process. Jenica has a question if MET is accepted in Indiana. Jenica, if you would email our recruiting team, we can look up this specific state requirement for you. Andrew, do you remember on that slide which of the English exams were accepted? Is it TOEFL and IELTS for Indiana?
Correct.
Yep. Okay.
Yes.
Right now it's TOEFL and IELTS. Those acceptances are always changing. Let's see. There's a question about operating room nurses. We do hire OR nurses in a variety of states, so we'd love to speak with you directly about your application. And let's see. One more question about if you don't have recent clinical experience, can you apply? We do require current bedside experience. That way, as you're moving through the immigration process and once you arrive in the U.S., you have relevant and current experience in the unit that you've been hired for. So current bedside experience and maintaining your bedside experience through the immigration process is required. CJ, I see a bunch more questions in here. How much time do I have?
Yeah, we can have like 5 more minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds great. Let me scroll down. I see a couple of questions about how do I apply or how do I qualify? You can apply on our website, healthstaff.org. There's a big apply now button. We would love for you to apply to get you in touch with one of our recruiters, or you can reach us on our live chat or email our recruiting team directly. And we do consider ICU nurses. We consider nurses working in a variety of units. So we'd love to speak with you directly about your application. Someone has a question. As a Texas license holder, am I eligible to apply for work in Indiana? Yes, we have a licensure team that will help you endorse your license to whatever state you are hired in. Ellen has a question. Do you have an orientation before the hospital does theirs? As a direct hire employee, that means that you get to participate in the orientation process that the hospital offers. And what we offer here at Worldwide Health Staff Solutions is helping to prepare you for that process and helping to make sure that the hospital has a good understanding of your skill set so that the orientation really supports you through the process and helps you be most successful at that hospital. Ellen also wants to know, how's the weather year round? I think Andrew spoke on this a little bit, but Indiana has great weather. They have warm springs, summers, and falls, and they do get snow in the winter. And so if you want to live somewhere in the U.S. that gets all 4 seasons, you get to experience all the weather, that is a great place for you. Samuel wants to know, do I need to pass my NCLEX before applying for a job in Indiana? Right now, our RN positions all do require NCLEX. You have to have passed NCLEX to work as an RN in the U.S. We don't currently have any CNA positions available, so we'd encourage you to take and pass NCLEX so that we can best support you in your application. Let's see. Humble wants to know, how long does it take to relocate? Right now, the green card immigration process is about 18 to 24 months. Definitely depends on visa retrogression and at what time you get your application in, but we'd love to speak with you directly about your application. Shang wants to know which hospitals are in Indiana. Right now, we have 2 partners in Indiana, Community Health Network, which we're hiring for. We have interviews next week, I believe, and then Franciscan Health, who we'll be hiring for soon. Let's see. There's a question, do you require applicants currently working in a hospital only? To have the best success with your application, it's best to be working in the type of facility that you're interviewing for. So if you're wanting to interview for a hospital setting, we would encourage you to be working in a hospital setting. But we also hire occasionally for skilled nursing facilities and also long-term care facilities as well. And I'm going to take this last question. If you have additional questions that weren't answered or you want to speak with us directly, email us at recruiting@healthstaff.org, apply on our website, healthstaff.org, or contact our live chat, healthstaff.org/live-chat. Last question is from Precious. Is medical technologists hiring? Yes, we do hire medical technologists. We invite you to apply, and we'd love to speak with you more about your application. Thanks, everybody, so much for joining. And again, if you didn't get an answer to your question, please reach out to us directly.
Okay, thanks, Kelsey. And also, please like and follow us on Facebook for immigration updates and new positions on always. We have webinars weekly. So to keep updated, please follow us on Facebook. I'll put down on the link. And also, we have all the replays in our YouTube channel. I also put that on the link so that you can view all like our previous webinars, and you can learn a lot from it. And also, I just want to share as well our Refer a Nurse program. I'll put that on the link. So every successful refer, you'll receive and earn up to $250. And I think that's it. So any last thoughts?
No, thank you all for joining. I hope your journey to Indiana is lovely. Please engage with us on social media.